Okay, I was out on the grader all day, but when I came home, I had mail, some intake manifolds for, well, they're actually for an XT or a TT using the stock carburetor because the intake is too small for the 38s that I use, but a 32 or a 34, they're real heavy duty. So I use a stock carburetor on my XT, and I've got a TT motor that I put together, so good to have one of them. But for the ones that I run, I use the bigger 38, or at least a 36 millimeter Mikuni. But those little manifolds crack. Somebody asked about this motor. I haven't got around to putting it. I've got a frame to put it in, but that is a Lafon 150. They're the Chinese clone of a Honda. Now, this was a brand new motor when I got it, but it was stuck. And I took it apart, honed it out, put new rings in. I just got to put it in that frame sometime. I just never get around to it. I've got other projects that interest me more. But they're a weird little motor. And it's made to be a cheap replacement for your Honda motor if it's wore out. As I'm out here, there was something I was going to talk about to do with these weapons to Ukraine because we are, they're working on sending them a whole bunch more. Well, the problem is they've already sent the stuff. They just want to get paid. Our military industrial complex wants some payback. So that's where the money will go, or most of it. But one of the things that they did a while back, a week or two ago, our government likes to have a stash of untraceable weapons that we can pass out to countries if we want to get some revolution going or something, that can't be traced back to us. We did that even, like when the Russians were in Afghanistan, and we were supplying the Afghan rebels to go after the Russians, we went around the world having to buy up all the British 303s we could, the old Enfields, because they couldn't be traced to us. And we passed them out to the Afghans. Well, it got to the point where they couldn't find enough ammunition. We actually even ended up making a factory in Pakistan to hammer out that 303 so they could keep them supplied with ammunition. But we like to do that, but we don't, we want to be able to stay in the shadows. So the Navy has been intercepting these fishing boats and stuff, running arms into Yemen. Evidently for the Houthis, I don't know, but they keep picking us up. We don't like other people doing illicit arms deals. That's too much competition for us. So we've been stopping on boats and grabbing them. And they had quite a pile of them. Well, we're giving 5,000 of them to the Ukrainians and like 500,000 rounds of ammunition. But these are AK-74s or AK-47s that use the 7.62 by 39. Not what they really have any use for. They're using our 5.56 stuff. We've been pouring weapons into Ukraine. In fact, it's gotten to the point where they're getting real nervous because there has been so many weapons pushed into Ukraine. Small arms, they aren't short of small arms by any means, but so many of these have gotten out in the public. They're deathly afraid that the Ukrainians are going to rebel against this puppet government that we put in there. In fact, that's why, we are shuffling 100 advisors into Ukraine that are going to be at our embassy, figuring they won't get shot at our embassy or won't get bombed. But these really aren't advisors. These are really bodyguards for Zelensky to kind of keep that operation going a little while longer, because they are definitely afraid that not all Ukrainians are into this whole deal. And they're afraid that they are going to rebel and just take him out. So we're going to bodyguard him, babysit him for a while. But all of these AKs, which, like I said, they don't really use, they're using our 5.56 stuff. And they prefer, if they can get a hold of, if they can capture some of the Russian AK-74s, that's what they really like. But we've been providing them with this 5.56. Like I said, they're not short of small arms. They're flooded with small arms. But to shut them up for a while, we're giving them 5,000 of those AKs, AK-47s, which, like I say, they really weren't looking for. And you know what's going to happen with them. A lot of the arms that we've been sending over have been ended up all over the world, even in Mexico, but a lot of them end up in, like, the Scandinavian countries. They're kind of getting full of them. And that's where these AK-47s are going to end up. Like I say, the Ukrainians didn't need them, but this is something that they can make good money on. So they'll turn around and they'll peddle off these Iranian AKs, and they will end up all over the world. It's kind of a win-win for us in that then if something happens, you can't blame us because it's them dirty Iranians. They got the guns from the Iranians. Well, they really didn't. They got them from us. That straw purchase kind of deal again. But you haven't seen the last of those AKs. They are going to be turning up all over the place. It's a hell of a deal, but they want to keep pushing weapons into there. But they are very afraid of somebody cutting the strings on their puppet, and that could happen anytime, particularly like his actual presidency will end in May, like the 18th or something. Well, I guess they got a right then to take him out because he refuses to have elections. So, yeah, very good chance of that happening, but that's why we are babysitting him. They always talk, the Russians have no interest in taking Zelensky out. He's such a bonehead, it's just, leave him there. We're more afraid of just the regular Ukrainian people taking him out because they really don't have much use for him. But we think he's a hero. It'll change. Our attitude will change, and we'll wonder, how did we get into this mess? But that's how we always get into these messes. And we always think that, we could rewrite history to make it sound like it wasn't our fault, but it's all our fault, right down the line. But I think this one is going to be a little hard to play down, because it is falling apart. It's funny to hear, and them stupid people in Congress waving their Ukrainian flags. That's a bad, bad look. But they're going to learn to regret that. But they're all making money. And that, I guess, is what matters to them. But it's a shitty deal for the people in Ukraine who are just trying to get by. Bring something like that on them. If the government asks if you want help. You don't want to take them up on that deal. Well, back to work. But you watch. These Iranian AKs, they will be turning up all over hell. And you know where they came from.